Hello, Every Nation cohort, and hi, Dr. Lee. I'm here to present to you my brief ethnographic study on the focus group that I have done. In the church that I pastor in Victoria, Alabang, we have an international youth service that caters to students who are foreign nationals. In this particular study, the school that we focused on is called the University of Perpetual Health, System Dalta. This study is aimed to understand some cultural markers and cultural bridges of Indian students in the university to help us reach them for Christ. There are about 2,000 plus international students in that campus, 95% of which are Indian nationals, giving us a good base for this study. This study was done from an ethic or an outsider perspective, as I am not of an Indian origin. I approached the gatekeeper, who is the prefect of discipline from that school, and he said, go ahead and interview these students. When asked for the students' consent to the interview, I noticed that they did not even mind if their story was shared. In fact, they considered it an honor for their testimony to be shared outside of this particular study. I interviewed about 14 medical students. We were able to get substantial results in using interviews, observation, questionnaires, and some documents in order to gather enough data. The questions asked in this study had to do with their culture, some societal practices, similarities with Filipino culture, their faith, and the experiences that they have here in the Philippines so far. So these are some of the findings that I have. One core issue reflected in the interviews was their displacement and their alienation. In the midst of a major life experience, they found comfort in the communities that they have in that particular university. And for some, they found a home in the body of Christ. In understanding the Indian culture, there is a need to reflect on the values, religious and cultural nuances unique to their culture, such as a strong influence of Hinduism, not only in their religious spheres, but even in their societal and even educational spheres. They are generally aware of the negative cultural stigma that Filipinos have towards them as well. There is a general need for belonging and familiarity that the church is able to provide. And through this, they encounter the message of redemption and inclusivity of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So here are some of my reflections that lead to conclusion. The interviews and the observations enabled me to gain a deeper understanding of the Indian students in studying in UPHSD. The experience of moving from their familiar world to a foreign country such as the Philippines with an entirely different worldview is difficult, if not impossible, to capture in words. The alienation caused by the unfamiliar is reflected in the way the students narrate their experience of trying to settle into this new community. In the midst of this displacement, the church community that they found gave them a brand new perspective, not only on the Philippines and Filipinos in general, but also on life with God and everything else in between. And through this research, they became more than data to be analyzed. They became friends with stories that gave me a glimpse of God's work on the nations through the work we are doing in the campuses. And as I explored the lines that mark these students' culture, I was faced with the task of sorting through cultural images and information that allowed me to appreciate the colorful culture ingrained in the students. I want to show you a brief testimony of the two of the Indian students that I interviewed personally, and these are Sharon and Sojia, and how they started reaching out to fellow Indian medical students just like them.
I started going to church just to accompany her. That was my only reason, no other reason, because in my mind I always stated this point, like I will go to church with her, but never in my life I will take a decision to become a Christian. I started joining Victory for just the youth service. This thing, the relationship in the church really encouraged me to go back again and again. Every week while youth service, there will be an altar call and there will be this announcement of the Victory Weekend coming ahead. So I think that made me to ask her, can you do one-to-one?
I was like, my answered prayer. Yeah, that's how we started our one-to-one journey.
Before it was like an accident for me, but now when I think back, it was all a plan.
They started this new youth service. It's really meant for the international youth service, reaching out the international. So we were just two internationals there with other Filipinos. we decided to just pray. And then we started praying. For I think 3 months we prayed, and then after 3 months we see 10 new faces in the youth service.
We already have victory groups now. She's leading a victory group, I'm also leading a victory group, and also they are reaching out to their friends. They're already doing one-to-one with their friends. Now if you see, like there are so many are coming. We didn't do anything, that's the truth, but God did everything by himself.